Most men grow up believing that the more they give, the more they'll be loved. They pour their time, money, energy, and attention into women, thinking it will earn loyalty and admiration. But here's the harsh truth. Overgiving doesn't build respect, it destroys it. When you constantly overinvest, you teach her to take you for granted and devalue what you bring. Instead of looking strong, you come across as desperate, and desperation kills attraction instantly. The men who actually get respected and chased aren't the ones drowning women in gifts or validation. They're the ones who move with balance and discipline. Real value isn't about how much you give. It's about how much you're willing to protect your energy. A man who respects himself doesn't try to buy love because he knows his presence is already the prize. In this video, I'm going to break down 5 reasons why overgiving destroys a man's value and what you can do instead. If you want to keep your dignity and flip the dynamic in your favor, this message is one you can't afford to ignore. Number 1. Overgiving signals neediness. When a man constantly gives, it may look like generosity on the surface, but deep down, it often signals something else entirely, a hidden need for approval. Women are highly perceptive, and they can quickly sense when a man's actions are motivated by insecurity rather than genuine confidence. What he thinks is kindness can actually come across as desperation, and desperation is never attractive. The truth is, overgiving doesn't build value. It quietly destroys it, because it sends the message that your worth depends on her response. When you pour out endless attention, gifts, or effort without balance, you're not proving your strength, you're proving your neediness. And the more she feels you need her validation, the faster her respect begins to fade. Respect isn't earned by begging for approval. It's earned by standing firm in your standards and refusing to overextend yourself just to be noticed. A man who values himself gives with intention, not desperation. And that's the difference between being respected as a prize and being dismissed as a pushover. Number 2. It creates imbalance in relationships. In every healthy relationship, balance is key because both partners need to invest equally for respect and attraction to thrive. When a man overgives without receiving anything in return, he unintentionally creates an unequal dynamic that slowly erodes value. Instead of seeing his generosity as love, she begins to see it as desperation, and that shift changes the way she feels about him. People rarely appreciate what they don't have to earn, and the same truth applies in dating. When everything is handed over freely, it loses its worth. Overgiving trains her to contribute less effort, and as her investment drops, so does her emotional attachment. The less she invests, the less she truly cares, because human psychology ties value to what requires effort. What starts as kindness on his end often turns into complacency on hers, leaving the man frustrated and confused. He thinks he's doing everything right by giving more, but in reality, he's pushing her further away. At the end of the day, imbalance kills attraction, and the man who gives without boundaries ends up being taken for granted instead of respected. Number 3. Overgiving destroys mystery and challenge. Attraction doesn't grow from comfort. It thrives on curiosity, tension, and challenge. When a man overgives, constantly pouring out attention, compliments, and gifts, he thinks he's securing her interest, but he's actually killing the very spark he wants to ignite. By laying all his cards on the table too soon, he removes the element of mystery that keeps her intrigued. Women are wired to chase what feels uncertain, to lean into the unknown, and to invest energy into figuring someone out. But when everything is handed to her up front, she has no reason to wonder, no reason to pursue, and no reason to stay emotionally hooked. Predictability breeds boredom, and boredom suffocates attraction. True magnetism comes from holding back just enough to let her imagination do the work. It's the questions she can't answer, the moments she replays in her head, that keep you in her thoughts. Overgiving erases that curiosity, and once the mystery is gone, the attraction quickly follows. Number 4, it shows lack of boundaries. A man who can't say no or who constantly gives without limits ends up showing he has no standards. When you allow yourself to be drained, disrespected, or taken for granted just to keep someone happy, you communicate weakness instead of strength. Women don't admire men who bend to every demand. They respect men who know their value and enforce it. Boundaries are powerful because they silently say, "I respect myself too much to tolerate less than I deserve." Overgiving, on the other hand, screams desperation and makes you look replaceable. The truth is, without clear boundaries, you invite chaos into your life and teach her that she doesn't need to put in effort. Respect fades the moment she realizes you're willing to compromise yourself just to keep her around. Attraction doesn't grow in weakness. It grows in discipline and self-control. That's why setting firm boundaries isn't optional. It's the foundation of being a high-value man. Number 5, overgiving turns love into pity. At its core, overgiving never creates love. It creates pity, and pity is poison to attraction. A woman might accept your gifts, attention, or effort for a while, but deep down, she doesn't admire you. She merely tolerates you. When a man gives endlessly without balance, it doesn't inspire desire, it signals weakness, and weakness kills respect instantly. The moment admiration is replaced with pity, the dynamic of the relationship shifts from passion to obligation. She no longer sees you as the man she desires, but as someone clinging to her approval. And that energy suffocates attraction. Women don't chase men they pity. They distance themselves, even if they stay physically present for a time. And when pity takes over, the spark that once existed fades into resentment because no one truly values what they feel forced to tolerate. Overgiving makes you forgettable, but self-respect makes you unforgettable. That's why a man who values himself first will always earn respect, while the man who overgives ends up pushed aside. Ultimately, overgiving destroys a man's value because it exposes neediness, throws relationships out of balance, erases mystery, weakens boundaries, and reduces love to pity. Respect isn't earned by giving endlessly. It's earned by standing firm in your self-worth. A man of value gives with purpose, not desperation, and never tries to buy affection with effort. He knows his time and energy are limited resources, and that makes them powerful when used wisely. The less freely you hand yourself over, the more she respects the moments when you do. Love and respect naturally flow toward men who hold their frame, not toward men who sacrifice their dignity just to be chosen. And that's why true strength lies not in overgiving, but in knowing when to give and when to walk away.